Taste Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? You know, Canelo Alvarez electing to vacate his belt and hand it over to Gennady Golovkin and not even fight him next. Now, that move will definitely affect Canelo worse, but at the same time, I believe that move, it does affect Gennady Golovkin as well. Because Team Golovkin, they were strongly relying on a Canelo Alvarez victory to catapult Gennady Golovkin into superstar status. Now, if Gennady Golovkin would have took the Andre Ward challenge when it was presented to him, that would have definitely propelled his celebrity status. But with no Andre Ward, no Canelo Alvarez, no Floyd Mayweather on Gennady Golovkin's resume, now Gennady Golovkin is forced to work even harder to become a star in the sport of boxing. You know, Gennady Golovkin is the best middleweight in the world. But for any fan to suggest that he is an avoided or one of the most avoided fighters in boxing, clearly those fans have not been following the boxing news. Because every day it seems like there's a new guy calling out Gennady Golovkin. And most of these guys are aggressively calling out Golovkin. It started with Erislandy Lara. Now you have new faces like the super middleweight undefeated champion Gilberto Ramirez. Now you have Chris Eubanks. You had Kell Brook that threw Golovkin's name out there. You had James DeGale that called out Gennady Golovkin. And actually, I can't even say it started with Lara. It started with Andre Ward. Okay, then it was Erislandy Lara. So you have all of these fighters. Oh yeah, and then you have who they're calling the White Mike Tyson, another good opponent for Golovkin, Aventel Kurzitse. Now Kurzitse, he actually knocked out the former undefeated prospect Antoine Douglas, someone who was extremely talented, had a very promising career and still does. But Kurzitse, you know, he pulled off the upset and he stopped Douglas. So that would be another good fight for Golovkin, and he's calling out Golovkin as well. So you have all of these fighters calling out Golovkin, and the funniest thing is the only fighters that are not calling out Golovkin are the fighters that Golovkin is targeting, which is Billy Joe Saunders, Canelo Alvarez, and Danny Jacobs. Now, of course, obviously, if Golovkin can't get those guys in the ring, that's obviously not Golovkin's fault. But if Golovkin can't get those guys in the ring and he doesn't fight any of the other guys, which I assume that he will, because it would be very difficult to justify not fighting one of the 5 guys that are calling out Golovkin if he can't get the guys that he's calling out. So one more time, it's not Golovkin's fault if the guys he calls out doesn't want to fight him. But it is his fault if he will only fight the guys that are not calling him out, have no interest in fighting him, but he won't even consider fighting the guys that have their hand raised and they actually want to take the challenge. That would make no sense. Okay, so let's once again look at plan B, or what was supposed to be plan B if Canelo were to vacate and elect not to fight Golovkin next. Team Golovkin, they're saying that Billy Joe Saunders is plan B. But the thing is, Billy Joe Saunders, he hasn't really said anything since the whole Canelo situation has fallen apart. And now it looks like Eddie Hearn, who promotes Chris Eubanks, and I believe, doesn't Eddie Hearn promote Billy Joe Saunders as well? I believe he does. But with that being said, if he does promote them both, why is he pushing harder for the Chris Eubanks fight? Chris Eubanks versus Golovkin. And that could only be for the simple reason that Billy Joe Saunders doesn't want that work with Golovkin. Now, I could be wrong, and Billy Joe Saunders and Team Golovkin, they could be working out a deal behind closed doors for all I know. But that's not what it's looking like right now. It's looking like Chris Eubanks wants a Golovkin fight more than Saunders does. But the bottom line is, with all these guys calling out Golovkin, it would make sense that Golovkin would fight one of these guys next. The crazy thing is, even though Golovkin would be a favorite to beat Chris Eubank, that would still be a step-up fight, not only for Chris Eubank, but even for Gennady Golovkin if you look at Gennady Golovkin's past opponents. I know a lot of fans are going to criticize the Chris Eubank fight, but I still believe, it's a step up, a small step up in the right direction. If you're comparing Eubanks to Dominic Wade or Willie Monroe, Gabe Rosado, Adama, if you're comparing them to fighters like that, David Lemieux, then this is definitely a small step up in competition for Gennady Golovkin. I believe Gilberto Ramirez or even a Danny Jacobs fight, that would be a bigger step up for Gennady Golovkin. It was already reported that if Canelo vacates, that eventually they're going to order Golovkin versus Danny Jacobs as a unification bout. So eventually Danny Jacobs, he'll be put in the same situation as Canelo was, to either vacate or fight Gennady Golovkin. So if Danny Jacobs, if he doesn't end up fighting Golovkin next, then once again, Gennady Golovkin, he needs to fight one of these guys that are calling him out. So who do you guys think that Golovkin should face next? Erislandy Lara, he just beat Vanes Monterosian in a rematch, and he is aggressively calling out Golovkin now. I mean, he's been calling him out every other day, it seems. So who should Golovkin fight if he can't unify the belts right now? That means if he can't get Danny Jacobs, Billy Joe Saunders, we know he's not going to fight Canelo next. Who should he fight next? Should he just fight an easy bum that no one's ever heard of? Or should he fight either Erislandy Lara, Chris Eubanks, Gilberto Ramirez, Kurzitse? Who should he fight next? That's all I got for now. I'm on to the next one.